Well, I'm going to talk about, we are going to stay in the same context of German Dadaism. And I'm going to talk about Salomon Friedlander, who is a philosopher, a German Berliner philosopher, that influenced very much the Dadaism, German Dadaism. But we don't know the story, has no talk about that very much. Well, so the title is Presentism. It's always a question of present. Presentism, the founding role of Salomon Friedlander, the Berlin avant-garde. There are several ways of talking about the present. Present, in its banal sense, refers only to what is present here and now, clearly obvious, an absolute and incontestable present, which does not lend itself in any way to opening criticism or stretching a perspective. The present, which we will discuss, is conceived of in the minds of several theoreticians like an event that arises between two temporal instances, the past and the future, from a memory and a perspective. It is Max Stirner who, it would seem, was one of the first to announce the importance of the present in 1844 in his work The Ego and His Own. In this work, he perceives the present as a frame necessary for the appropriation of his unique individual, which can only be realized through its permanent dissolution or its consumption. Since it is important to avoid any settling or stability of this individual, who could lead one to follow the separate and therefore false model. According to Max Stirner, being the owner of one's power is recognizing oneself as unique, and the owner himself returns to the creature of nothingness from which he is born. Any superior being above the individual, whether it is God or history, he maintains, weakens the feeling of uniqueness, and he insists on never letting any morsel of his ownership gain strength and to only feel good when it is dissolved. Stirner's man only exists when he leaves his own representation, with which he can identify, to only possess himself intrinsically, to become the ego, and this accession claims the dimension of present time. I quote him, "It is not in the future the object of aspirations that the true man is to be found, but existing and real in the present." Here, the evocation of present time has the effect of distracting past and future individuals within an experience where one forgets any pre-established model. Max Stirner's present, however, doesn't really have a form. It remains vague and undefined. It is with Salomon Friedlander, a philosopher and writer from Berlin, 50 years later, that the present will acquire a new tension thanks to the polar balance that Friedlander determines between the opposing forces to which the middle corresponds with an ideal indifference, a neutral point, reached through the unstable contradiction of the contrary forces, a point of ultimate concentration that reveals itself to also be a point of expansion or of dissolution of the individual. This creative indifference, as he calls it in his work published in 1918, established a singular temporality, a coincidence of opposing forces, an extreme differentiality, a sort of introverted dialectic movement, a mixture of inertia and movement, analogous to the rhythm of pendulum oscillating around a unique center, but always in a different way. This living indifference, as he also calls it, is conceived of in a present Friedlander goes as far as to turn it into a presentism in a text bearing the same name, published in the Sturm in 1913. According to Friedlander, identity is not a destination or an objective to which we can gain access, but an event generated from the contradiction of two opposing forces, I quote him, like staying behind oneself, like developing in a contrary sense as far as infinity, he writes. The identity of things is not static, but is to be considered within the dynamic of a differentiation between two opposing poles. Friedlander insists upon this polarity as being from or of the difference. He advocates a conception of the world as using poles of difference against each other in the form of reciprocated mutuality balanced around a neutral center. This magical duality of a face-to-face destroys the passage of time in terms of past and future in favor of a present of the action attached to the hinge of now. A unique contradictory dynamic of the one opposing force against the other constitutes at the same time an alternative to the movement directed from the modern teleology of the historical progress at once one against the other from the Hegelian dialectic, then Marxist, Leninist and Maoist in the 20th century, to come to transcend on the future. Modern temporality demands communally that we lean on the past to throw ourselves into a radiant future that is at least the image that has stayed with us since the intense period of the artistic avant-garde from 1910 to 1925. But do we know that this heated sequence also bears witness to, but rather muted, another temporality, that of claimed presentism many times by Salomon Friedlander and his supporters, the most illustrious of whom is the Dadaist Raoul Haussmann from Berlin, himself the author of a presentism manifesto in 1921, directly inspired by the philosophy of the creative indifference. And if this were the case, would the official story have passed next to true modernity without retaining anything? To paraphrase Bruno Latour, we would never have been modern. It is the eccentric contradictory movement of the Hegelian dialectic that history has retained, concerning the extreme modernity of the avant-gardes, dissolving the past to progress toward a better future at the expense of this dialectic over, which we can qualify as indifferent, presentist, or polar, and which, from a faraway horizon, leaves space for this empire of the present, neutral and balanced middle ground between the opposing poles, the synthesis or active implosive differentiation of the difference. The presentism is a consequence of the polar system of indifference because it neutralized the pacing of time in the confrontation of the past and future, instilling the feeling of an eternal present, turning the experience of the present into a dilated space to the point of washing away any notions of the past and future. Who else but the artists would have been able to appreciate such an experiment in time and space, using this concept of indifference by Friedlander in their own artistic experience? Berlin Dadaism is a cutting edge of this concept of indifference, and the promoter of present procedures such as photomontage, assemblage of objects, sound poetry, and stage actions, especially Raoul Haussmann, but many other artists belonging to the Dada constructivist movement at the beginning of the 20s make reference to Dr. Salomon Friedlander and his principle of creative indifference. The underground importance of such conceptual ramifications that history has only silenced. It is true that Friedlander's polar concept essentially challenged the temporality of the avant-garde's progressive history. And if Dadaism and Dada constructivism have sometimes been judged as a true art form, special form, including by their own actors, it is partly because it adopts an anti-logical general vision of the world, and because it assigns more than a simple statue of anti-conformist principle to the present, a context necessary to initiate new procedures for creation, such as a random chance, the assemblage of heterogeneous objects or scenic actions, created directly with the audience of even works that are in the process of being developed visibly and relatively slowly, as if the importance assigned to the present expands this in duration. All these factors in reality seem to contradict the classical progressive modernity of the history of avant-garde art. Does Tristan Tzara himself not confirm the doubt towards a certain modernity? At the Artists' Congress held in Weimar at the initiative of Theo van Doesburg, Tristan Tzara declares on 25 September 1922, in the preamble to his Dada lecture, Dadaism is not at all modern. It is rather the return of an almost Buddhist religion of indifference. In this sense, there is an anti-modern component to modernity, a tendency that opposed the unrestrained advancement of the artistic new. In a 1921 manifesto, a call to elementarist art, the constructive and ex-Dadaist co-signatories demand the style to replace the styles, dreaming of a universality of style correlating to a historical outside of time, another time, suspended, and end of the history. I quote, artists, proclaim yourself united with art. Turn away from the styles. We demand the abolition of styles to reach a single style. There would therefore be a dialectic without the exteriority of Aufhebung. If we consider that the dialectic is associated with the notion of an horizon of expectation, as Reinhard Koselleck was able to define it, and that an absence of the horizon implies an absence of expectation, the dialectic that we are considering here being no longer projected into the future beyond, but the opposite, turned back towards its point of origin, towards the center, somewhere around the middle, between opposing forces of time, between before and after, and space, between in front and behind, right and left, etc. An unstable and yet at the same time fixed point, as material as it is conceptual, a point that Salomo van Dunder dared to call a point of indifference, and which would correspond to a perpetual present, a presentism according to Haussmann. A time turning back on itself that, balancing around its own center, manages to establish its own figures of expansion in a continually renewed present. Hans Richter, a Dadaist Frau und Frau, insists in his memoirs on what he calls a secret manner that lies within the control of a state of tensions issue from a contradiction between opposing instances and raised to a real manner of creation. I quote him, but this conflict is also a characteristic of Dadaism, a true and significant one. There have not been any repercussions in the form of a contradiction, where a thing neutralized another, but rather as a sort of complement. It is precisely in the confrontation of contradiction, ideas and men that Dadaism has found its true identity. And he makes several references to Salomon van Dunder. About time? Okay.
About 2 more minutes.
1 minute. Richard Wolstenbeck, a Dadaist from the very beginning, insisted on avant-Dada, on this Dadaist characteristic of the contradictory simultaneousness inspired by Salomon van Dunder. the Dadaist abandons himself completely to the movement of life. He places himself in the middle of the angles without ever losing his distance towards things, as he never renounced creative indifference, to use Dr. Friedlander Minena's definition. To not only reference the most influential Dadaists who draw from Salomon Friedlander, let us borrow these words from Theo van Doesburg in What is Dadaism? I quote him: Dadaism denies evolution. Any movement provokes a counter-movement of equal force. They cancel each other out. Dadaism destroys the generally accepted dualism and creates, in this way, the indifference point, a point situated beyond the human conception of time and space. Raoul Haussmann, who was dominated by the character and the intensity of his concept since 1915, it was his friend Johannes Baader who introduced him to Friedlander and made a material appropriation from it by putting strongly contrasting and heterogeneous materials directly in contact in photomontages, as well as by confronting the optical and sonorous dimension in poetry, optophonetic performances. The material use of the principle of maximum contrast in the plastic work of Haussmann demonstrates the incontestable role that Salomon Friedlander's concept of polarities has been able to play, deepening the gap between the difference in things, materials, or objects, working on the contradiction as far as the point of dissolution is, without any doubt, the material equivalent of finding the point of equilibrium of Friedlander's point of indifference. Furthermore, Raoul Haussmann did not hide himself away in his theoretical writing, quite the opposite. From a semantic point of view, numerous formulations support the mark that Raoul Haussmann made on philosophy right up until the end of his life. Haussmann claims material procedures that led to experimentation of new perceptions, hybrids between touch and vision, that have inspired the research of Ernst Marcus, leading him to describe it as eccentric sensoriality or eccentric sensory appeal. I don't know. The presentism that he invokes is the present of the experience that puts into contact by coinciding the opposing force. To paraphrase Nicolas Decrès, also, Raoul Haussmann invents an anarchic man who is aware of touching what he sees from a distance. The new art created by Raoul Haussmann, accompanied by Kurt Schwitters, they both toured Prague on the 6th and the 7th September 1921 under the banner of Merz Presentismus, and by their friends, Dadaist and Constructivists, developing by the presence of the rhythm, the source of energy that interwave tirelessly. At the beginning of the 20s, the general awareness of the avant-garde Dada constructivist artists covers the almost tactile sensitivity of being in permanent interdependence with all the elements of the surrounding space. This particular sensitivity goes at the same time Einstein's theory of relativity and the artists of the avant-garde experiment freely within the works with more complicated configurations of the understanding of the new space-time. Schwitter's Merzbau is a part of these expansive works. Started in 1923, the sculpture evolves over time, never stabilized, overflowing into the next room. Many of the witnesses highlight a contradictory dynamic of progressive burying various objects and sculpture gradually disappearing into a single sculpture always more monumental that confines cavities filled with numerous ex voto or caves of friendship, containing objects owned by the artist, friends of Schwitter's. All these cavities and protrusions in the first column are disappeared when Hans Richter returned to see Schwitter's 3 years later. In a more general way, the nature of time is to transform objects, to open them to the marks of the deterioration of time. If the classic work of art should symbolically protect itself against time, almost pointedly show its triumph over the ravage of time, to express its exemplary speech in the suspended forms of eternity, the work of modern art has, however, opened itself intentionally in the real time of nature, not without revealing the entropic and aesthetically contradictory character of what we could consider, more or less consciously, as resignation before death. However, modern speech plays on the ambiguity of the deterioration of natural time that opens out into instability of the form. The paradox is the size, and it has not begun today, since German Romanticism already wanting to touch life as close as possible in Frau poetic poetry, running the risk of meeting the nothingness of the form. By searching for the transparency of the living arts of the present, of an art on the level of nature, modern artists and postmodern artists introduce into the material language of contradictory polarities, the only end of which could be to make us aware that time is never self-evident, that it is exclusively seen in relation to a space and therefore like a material in a multiplicity of states. Thank you. Sorry.